She was left alone on a date until a billionaire stranger said, "He'll regret losing you." Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. The soft hum of conversation filled the elegant restaurant in downtown New York. Glasses clinked like crystal bells beneath the golden light, and each plate looked like a work of art. Emma Brooks sat alone at a corner table, her hands resting awkwardly beside a half-empty glass of water. She had been waiting for 35 minutes. Her reflection in the polished window showed a nervous young woman wearing a second-hand navy blue dress and slightly scuffed heels. She brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear and whispered, "Maybe he is just stuck in traffic." The waiter passed again, polite but clearly aware she was still waiting. Emma forced a smile and looked at her phone. No messages. Outside, rain streaked the glass, blurring the city lights into soft halos. Around her, couples laughed quietly, their hands reaching across linen-covered tables. The contrast stung. She picked up her phone again, scrolling through her texts. Nothing. Kevin had said he would be here at 7. It was now 7:42. Her stomach tightened. Maybe he changed his mind. Maybe he saw her walk in and decided she was not worth his time. The thought burned, sharper than she expected. She gathered her purse, ready to leave before her embarrassment grew any louder than the clinking of silverware. Then, from the next table, a calm male voice stopped her. "Do not go," he said gently. "He will regret losing you." Emma turned. The man who spoke looked up from his coffee. His eyes were steady, deep gray, beneath the warm light. He wore a charcoal suit that fit perfectly, but his tone carried no arrogance, only quiet sincerity. "I am sorry," she stammered. He smiled, faint but kind. "You have been waiting for a while. Whoever stood you up made a mistake." Emma blinked, caught off guard. "Are you with the restaurant?" she asked hesitantly. He hesitated for a beat, then said softly, "Something like that." Her cheeks flushed. "Oh, I thought maybe you were sent to check if I needed anything." "I am fine, really." But the stranger nodded toward the empty chair. "You look like someone who could use company for 5 minutes. May I?" Her instinct told her to decline, to walk away before she made another fool of herself. Yet something about him, his calmness, his grounded presence made her pause. She nodded. 5 minutes. He smiled, that quiet, knowing smile again. "Fair enough." He lifted his cup. "To people who show up, even when others do not." She laughed nervously, easing back into her chair. "That is a sad toast." "Maybe," he said, "but it is honest." For the first time all evening, Emma felt the weight on her chest lighten just a little. The sound of rain outside softened, blending with the low jazz drifting through the restaurant. She had no idea that the man sitting across from her, the one who had just turned her worst night into something strangely beautiful, was Liam Parker, the billionaire owner of the very restaurant she thought she had been abandoned in. And this mistake, this unexpected meeting, would change both of their lives forever. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the thin curtains of Emma's small apartment in Queens. The noise of the street drifted in honking cars, vendors calling out prices for fresh bagels, and the hum of a city that never stopped moving. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her phone again. No message from Kevin, not even an apology. She sighed, tying her hair into a messy bun, and looking around her one-room apartment. The space was neat but bare, an easel in the corner, a few sketches taped on the wall, and a single plant that leaned toward the window for light. Rent was due in 4 days. Her savings could barely cover half. When she reached the cafe where she worked part-time, her manager, Sarah, met her at the door. "Emma, I am sorry," she began, not meeting her eyes. "The owner decided to close early this month. We have to cut shifts again." Emma froze, clutching her apron. "Cut again? I need those hours, Sarah." "I know," Sarah said softly. "If I could keep you, I would. Try next week, maybe the downtown branch?" Emma nodded numbly. The bell above the door jingled as a delivery driver entered, his cart full of boxes marked Parker Dining Group. She had heard the name before. It was a major restaurant chain across New York. The logo gleamed in gold, a curved letter P that seemed to belong in a different world from hers. That night, she walked home carrying a paper cup of leftover coffee, the sky washed in soft violet. Her phone buzzed Jenny, her best friend. "Girl, are you okay? I saw your date did not show." Emma forced a laugh. "Yeah, guess he did not think I was worth the Uber ride." "Forget him," Jenny said. "You are amazing. Also, random question, was the guy who talked to you tall, dark hair, kind of expensive looking?" Emma blinked. "Yeah, why?" Jenny whistled. "You will not believe this. My coworker just posted a photo from that same restaurant last night. The guy sitting near you looked exactly like Liam Parker." Emma frowned. "Who?" "Liam Parker, Emma. The owner of the entire Parker Dining Group. Billionaire, tech investor, restaurant guy, all of it." Emma stared at the streetlight glowing above her. "That cannot be him. He was just—" She hesitated, remembering his calm voice, his subtle smile. "He was just kind." The next day, while she was handing out resumes around Midtown, she stopped at a new cafe opening soon. The "Now Hiring" sign caught her eye. Inside, people in suits were discussing floor plans. And there he was, Liam Parker, studying a blueprint with a team of designers. Emma's heart jumped. She froze near the door, unsure whether to walk in or run away. Then Liam looked up. Recognition softened his expression. "Emma Brooks," he said warmly, stepping closer. "We meet again." She swallowed hard. "You remember my name?" "I remember the girl who waited 35 minutes and still smiled when she left," he said. "Are you here for the job?" "I might be," she said, finding her voice. He nodded. "Good. Then you will start tomorrow." Emma blinked, confused. "Just like that?" Liam smiled, hands in his pockets. "Sometimes you do not need an interview to know someone will fit. See you at 9. As she walked out, her heart raced. She still had no idea that her small act of courage, showing up to apply, was about to pull her back into the world of the very man she thought she had met by accident. But destiny, it seemed, had never been accidental. Emma arrived at the new cafe early the next morning, her heart pounding beneath her plain white shirt. The smell of fresh paint and roasted beans filled the air. Workers hurried around arranging tables, polishing the glass counters, and testing the espresso machines. Everything looked spotless and expensive, like the kind of place she could never afford to sit in, only serve in. A woman in a dark blazer approached her with a clipboard. "Emma Brooks, welcome. You will start with prep and front counter training today. Mr. Parker wants everything perfect before opening." Emma froze for half a second at the name, then quickly nodded. "Of course." For the next few hours, she folded napkins, wiped down menus, and practiced the greeting script the manager had written. Every detail mattered: tone, smile, eye contact. By noon, her hands smelled of coffee and sanitizer. She did not see Liam until late afternoon. He walked in quietly, no entourage, no noise, just a presence that made the room straighten itself. Conversations softened as the staff noticed him. He looked every bit the CEO Jenny had described. Crisp suit, tailored confidence, but his eyes found her immediately. "Good morning, Emma," he said, pausing by the counter. "Good afternoon, actually," she replied, trying to sound casual. He smiled slightly. "Then I am late. How has your first day been?" "Busy," she said, "but good. I have not broken anything yet." "Keep that record," he said with a hint of amusement. "You are doing well." As he turned to leave, she noticed the way other employees straightened their ties and fixed their posture. He was clearly respected, maybe even feared, yet he had spoken to her like she mattered. That small difference warmed her chest. Later, as the team prepared to close, Emma stayed behind to help stack chairs. When she finished, she realized Liam was still there, standing by the large front window overlooking the street. The city lights reflected off the glass like stars caught in motion. "Long day?" she asked softly. He turned, surprised she was still there. "Long, but worth it. This place was just an idea a few months ago. Now it is real." She stepped closer, careful not to intrude. "Do you open a lot of cafes?" "A few," he said, his tone distant, reflective. "But this one feels different. I wanted it to feel warm, welcoming, like home." Emma nodded. "Then you succeeded." She looked around at the space, soft lights, the hum of machines cooling, faint jazz playing from a speaker. "It feels calm, safe." Liam studied her expression. "You notice things most people overlook. That is rare." She blushed slightly, caught off guard. "It is just how I am. I like details." He smiled. "That is a good thing. Details are what make something or someone real." The air between them shifted, quiet but full. Emma looked down at her sketchbook resting on the counter, the same one she carried everywhere. Liam's eyes followed the motion. "Do you still draw?" he asked. "Every day," she said. "It keeps me grounded." "Then do not stop," he replied. "The world needs more people who see it that way." Emma felt something stir inside her, a strange mix of gratitude and confusion. Why did he care? Why did his approval matter so much? She only managed a quiet, "Thank you." He nodded once, then glanced at his watch. "Go home, Emma. You have done enough for today." As she walked out into the cool evening air, she could still hear his voice in her mind, steady, kind, and oddly personal. She did not know it yet, but what started as a misunderstanding over a missed date was slowly becoming something deeper, something that neither of them had planned for, but both would soon have to face. Over the next 2 weeks, the cafe opened to steady crowds. Emma's shifts were long but satisfying. She greeted customers with genuine warmth, memorized their favorite drinks, and even decorated the chalkboard menu with small sketches that made people smile. Word spread quickly. There was something different about this place, something human, Liam noticed. He often stopped by, pretending to check on operations, but his eyes always found her first. One afternoon, while she was refilling the pastry display, he appeared beside her holding 2 cups of cappuccino. "You have been on your feet for 6 hours," he said. "You deserve a break." She blinked, startled. "Mr. Parker, I cannot take a break while customers are still here." He handed her a cup anyway. "Then drink while you work, I insist." She hesitated, then took it. "Thank you. But you really do not have to—" "Emma," he interrupted gently, "you should learn to accept kindness. It looks good on you." Her cheeks warmed. "I will try." He smiled, a quiet kind of smile that lingered longer than she expected. For a moment, the noise of the cafe faded. There was only the soft hiss of the espresso machine and the steady rhythm of their breathing. Later that evening, as they closed up, Liam asked if she wanted to see something. He led her upstairs to a private office space overlooking the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the skyline, glowing with the soft orange of sunset. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said, resting his hands on the glass railing. Emma nodded. "It is. You can see everything from up here." "That is the strange part," he said. "When you are this high up, you can see everyone, but no one can really see you." She glanced at him. His voice sounded heavier, almost sad. "You get lonely up here?" He smiled faintly. "Sometimes. Success looks bright from the outside. Up close, it is a quiet view." She studied him for a moment. Beneath the tailored suit and quiet authority, she sensed a man carrying more than he showed. "Maybe you just need better company," she said softly. He looked at her, something unspoken in his eyes. "Maybe I do." A comfortable silence settled between them. The city hummed below, alive and distant. Emma pulled her sketchbook from her bag and flipped to a blank page. "Mind if I draw this?" "Go ahead," he said, curiosity in his tone. As she drew, her lines quick and confident, he watched her with quiet admiration. When she finished, she turned the page toward him. It was not the city view, it was his reflection in the glass, a man half in light, half in shadow. Liam stared at it for a long moment. "You see more than people show you," he murmured. "Maybe that is my problem," she replied softly. "I see things I should probably ignore." He shook his head. "No, that is your gift." Emma smiled. "Then maybe I will learn to use it." The next day, a framed copy of her drawing appeared on the cafe's wall. There was no note, no signature, only a small gold plate that read, "Perspective by E. Brooks." She stood in front of it, heart pounding. When she turned, Liam was at the counter, pretending to check invoices. He did not say a word. He just smiled the same quiet smile from that first night, and Emma realized that something between them had already begun to change. By the time autumn painted the city in shades of amber and gold, Emma had become the quiet heartbeat of the cafe. Customers greeted her by name, and even the morning rush felt lighter when she was behind the counter. But what she did not expect was how naturally Liam had become part of her daily rhythm too. He came by often, sometimes with a briefcase, sometimes with just a coffee in hand. Their conversations stretched from minutes to hours when the cafe slowed down. They talked about everything: art, family, regrets, and dreams. Emma learned that he had lost his parents young and had built his empire from scratch. In return, she told him about her mother's illness, her fear of failing, and how art was the only thing that kept her breathing when life felt too heavy. One evening, as they walked out together after closing, the streets glimmered with soft rain. Liam offered her his umbrella, but she shook her head and smiled. "I am fine. I like the rain. It feels like the world is being washed clean." He looked at her, a trace of admiration in his eyes. "You really see beauty in everything, do you not?" "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe I am just trying to survive it." They stopped at the corner where their paths split, his driver waiting by the curb, her apartment a few blocks away. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Liam said quietly, "Emma, you should come to the gallery event this weekend. It is a private showing, but I think you will like it." "A gallery?" she repeated. "I do not exactly blend in with that kind of crowd." He smiled. "Trust me, you belong more than you think." That night, Emma sat at her desk, sketchbook open but untouched. Her pencil hovered over the page as her mind replayed his voice, his look, the ease in the way he said she belonged. She wondered what kind of man could live in two worlds so easily, one made of glass and power, the other filled with quiet compassion. Saturday arrived faster than she expected. Emma stood outside the downtown art hall, clutching a small purse and wearing the only dress she owned that could pass for formal. Inside, golden light poured over the marble floor. Waiters in black served champagne, while a live quartet played softly in the background. She spotted Liam across the room, speaking with a group of investors. When his gaze met hers, his entire expression softened. He excused himself and walked toward her. "You came," he said simply. "I did," she replied, "though I am still wondering if I am underdressed." "You are perfect," he said, offering his arm. "Come, I want to show you something." He guided her to a quiet corner of the gallery, where a small collection of paintings hung on a single wall. They were cityscapes, New York streets, rainy nights, reflections in windows, but one stood out. It was a painting of a woman sitting alone at a restaurant table, the golden light catching her hair. Emma froze. "That looks like you," Liam finished softly. "I commissioned it after the night we met." Her heart stumbled. "You, what?" It reminded me that sometimes we find something real when we least expect it. For a moment, she forgot about the people, the noise, the champagne glasses clinking behind them. There was only him and the quiet truth that their worlds, so far apart, had somehow begun to touch. He smiled faintly. "Thank you for letting me into yours." Emma's voice trembled. "Maybe it was never mine to keep." Liam shook his head. Maybe it was just waiting for the right person to see it. As the music swelled behind them, Emma realized she was standing in the middle of her own sketch come to life, a painting she had never dared to dream, unfolding in real time. The following week, Emma's life felt like it had slipped into a quiet dream. The cafe thrived, her drawings gained attention, and her friendship with Liam deepened in ways she could not name. Every time he entered the room, the air seemed to change lighter, yet charged with something she was afraid to define. One morning, she arrived early to find an envelope waiting at her station. Her name was written in Liam's neat handwriting. Inside was an invitation printed on cream paper, Parker Group Annual Charity Gala. At the bottom, a handwritten note read, "It would mean a lot if you came. L." Emma hesitated. The gala was one of the city's biggest social events, covered by magazines and attended by people who lived in penthouses, not rented studios. She read the note again. It would mean a lot. That night, Jenny helped her find a dress simple, navy satin borrowed from a coworker. "You look stunning," Jenny said, as she adjusted the straps. "If he does not fall in love tonight, he might actually be blind." Emma laughed nervously. "It is not like that. He is my boss, my friend." "Right," Jenny said with a grin. "A friend who paints you, invites you to galas, and looks at you like you are the only person in the room. Sure, just a friend." At 7 o'clock, a black car waited outside Emma's building. The driver opened the door, greeting her by name. Her hands trembled slightly as the city lights blurred past the window. When they arrived at the Grand Meridian Hotel, the entrance shimmered with golden light and tall floral arrangements. Cameras flashed as guests in designer gowns stepped onto the red carpet. Inside, the ballroom glowed with chandeliers and laughter. Emma's heels clicked softly against the marble floor as she followed the usher's directions. And then she saw him. Liam stood near the stage, speaking with event organizers, dressed in a black tuxedo that made him look effortlessly commanding. When he turned and saw her, His eyes softened instantly. "You made it," he said, walking toward her. "I almost did not," she admitted. "I thought I would not fit in." He smiled. "You fit more than anyone here." He guided her through the crowd, introducing her to a few people, though she barely registered their names. Her mind kept circling the same question: why did he invite her here? What did she mean to him? As the host took the stage and the lights dimmed, the announcer's voice echoed through the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's guest of honor, the founder of Parker Group and chief benefactor of this year's charity initiative, Mr. Liam Parker." Emma froze. Applause erupted around her. Her heart hammered in disbelief. "Guest of honor?" She turned to look at him as he walked to the microphone. He spoke about compassion, community, and the responsibility of those with privilege. His words were steady and genuine. But to Emma, each sentence felt like a revelation. The man who had quietly handed her coffee and asked about her drawings was not just a kind stranger or even a CEO. He was the driving force behind the entire organization. When the crowd rose for a standing ovation, she stood too, her hands trembling. Their eyes met across the sea of glittering gowns and tuxedos. For the first time, she understood who he truly was. And for the first time, she realized she had fallen for a man who lived in a world she had never even dared to imagine. After the applause faded, Emma slipped out of the ballroom, her heart pounding too loudly for her to think straight. The soft music and laughter behind her felt far away as she pushed through the double doors into a quiet hallway lined with gold-framed mirrors. Her reflection stared back, same girl, same borrowed dress, but everything around her suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else. She walked toward the terrace, the cool air brushing her face. The skyline glittered like 1,000 secrets, but she could not shake the feeling of betrayal sitting heavy in her chest. He had known who he was all along. She had trusted him, laughed with him, shared pieces of herself she had never given to anyone, and he had let her believe they were equals. "Emma." His voice came from behind her, gentle, careful. She turned slowly. Liam stood in the doorway, the lights from inside spilling across his shoulders. "You should have told me," she said quietly. He took a step closer. "I wanted to, I swear. But every time I tried, You chose not to," she interrupted, her voice trembling. "You watched me talk about how people like you live in another world. You listened, you smiled, you let me make a fool of myself." Liam's expression broke. "You were never a fool. You were the only person who saw me without the noise, without the title." "Then why hide it?" she demanded. "Why pretend to be just another man at a coffee shop?" "I did not need a lie, Liam. I needed honesty." He ran a hand through his hair, his voice low. "Because when I met you that night, I saw someone real. I wanted one moment where who I was did not matter. You gave me that. I did not want to lose it." Her eyes glistened. "You already did." Silence filled the terrace. The city below seemed to hold its breath. Liam looked at her. Every word he wanted to say caught somewhere between pride and regret. "I never meant to hurt you," he said softly. "Everything I did, every moment I spent with you, it was real." Emma shook her head, stepping back. Real people do not build trust on secrets. He reached out, but she turned away. "Emma, please." She exhaled, her voice breaking. "You know what the worst part is? I believed you understood me. I thought we were standing on the same ground. But tonight, I realized there was never the same ground between us." For a long moment, neither spoke. The wind lifted the hem of her dress, carrying the faint sound of music from inside. She looked down at her hands, trembling, then back at him one last time. "Goodbye, Mr. Parker." The words landed softly, but cut deep. She walked past him, her footsteps echoing down the corridor. He stood there, frozen, watching her disappear through the golden doors, knowing that the truth he had kept to protect their connection had just destroyed it. Inside the ballroom, the host's voice echoed over the microphone, calling Liam back to the stage for a closing toast. But he could not move. His world, built on steel, glass, and reputation, had never felt emptier. Outside, Emma stepped into the cool night, the city lights blurring through her tears. She clutched her small purse, feeling the weight of the sketchbook inside, the same one that had once brought them together. She wished she could tear out every page that reminded her of him. But deep down, she knew she could not. Because love, even when broken, always leaves a trace. Days turned into weeks, and the warmth that once filled Emma's world faded into routine silence. She quit the cafe quietly, leaving a handwritten note on the counter that simply read, "Thank you for everything." She started working at a small art supply store downtown, where her days were measured by paint deliveries and customers searching for brushes. It was safe, quiet, and completely ordinary, just what she told herself she needed. But at night, she could not escape the ache. Sometimes, she caught herself sketching scenes she had sworn to forget. The curve of his jaw under warm cafe lights, the way his eyes softened when he looked at her, the skyline from his office window. She would tear the pages out and toss them away, but she could never bring herself to throw them far enough. One rainy afternoon, while closing the shop, she noticed a small envelope slipped under the door. Her name was written in that same familiar, deliberate handwriting. She froze. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single ticket to an art exhibition. No note, no explanation. Just the name of the gallery printed at the bottom. The Brooks Collection. Her breath caught. It could not be. The next evening, curiosity overpowered her caution. She arrived at the downtown gallery just as the sky turned violet. Through the glass walls, soft lights glowed over framed sketches and watercolor paintings. Her heart raced when she saw the first piece hanging near the entrance. It was one of her drawings, The Café, drawn from memory. Below it was a small gold plaque that read, "Perspective by Emma Brooks." Emma stepped inside, her eyes wide with disbelief. Every wall held her work drawings she had made over the past months. Some she thought she had lost, others she never meant for anyone to see. And at the center of the room, surrounded by flowers and low piano music, stood Liam. He turned when he felt her presence. His expression was calm but filled with something deeper: hope, maybe fear. "You came," he said quietly. "I had to see for myself," she replied. Her voice wavered. "What is all this?" "This," he said, looking around, "is my apology. You said real people do not build trust on secrets. So I am here, with nothing to hide. Every piece in this gallery belongs to you. I wanted the world to see you the way I did." Her eyes filled with tears. "You had no right to do this without asking me." He nodded. "You are right. But I could not let you disappear thinking what we had was just a lie. I wanted to give you back what you gave me: truth, honesty, and a reason to believe again." He stepped closer, careful not to cross the line she might still guard. "I have spent my life building things that looked perfect but felt empty. You were the first thing that made it feel full." Emma looked around at her art, her mistakes, her dreams, her moments of loneliness, and realized what he had done. This was not a display of power. It was vulnerability. It was love laid bare. She took a deep breath. "You did all of this. For me? For us," he said softly. "But only if you still want there to be an us." The silence that followed was long but gentle. Emma glanced at the sketch that had started it all. The one of her sitting alone at the table that night. Beneath it, a quote was written in gold ink. "The best mistakes are the ones that lead us home." Her lips trembled into a smile. "You remembered." He met her eyes. "I never forgot." And for the first time since that night, the distance between them began to disappear, not through words, but through understanding. In the quiet glow of the gallery, surrounded by her own art, Emma finally realized that sometimes love was not about being found. It was about being seen. The crowd thinned as the evening went on, leaving the gallery bathed in quiet light. Emma stood by the final wall, her fingers brushing the edge of a framed sketch. It was the last one in the exhibit, unfinished lines that faded into blank space. The title beneath it read, "Home." Behind her, she heard footsteps. Liam approached slowly, giving her room to breathe. "I kept that one incomplete," he said softly, "because I did not know how the story ended." Emma turned toward him, her eyes glimmering beneath the soft glow of the chandeliers. "And now?" He took a breath, the kind that carried both fear and hope. "Now I am asking you to finish it with me." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver ring, simple but elegant. "I know I made mistakes. I know I hurt you by hiding who I was. But everything since that night, every word, every look, every heartbeat, it was real. I do not want to spend another day pretending that night was just a coincidence. I want it to be the beginning of everything." Emma's breath caught. The memory of that first night, the rain, the warmth of his voice, the words, "He will regret losing you," all came rushing back. It had started as an accident, a misunderstanding, but somehow it had led them here. She looked at the ring, then at him. "You could have anyone in this city," she whispered. "Why me?" He smiled, the same quiet, honest smile that had changed everything. Because you saw me before anyone else did. Because you remind me that love is not about status or perfection, it is about truth. And I have never met anyone braver with the truth than you. Tears welled in her eyes. She looked around the gallery once more, the story of their lives told through her drawings. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every moment of grace, it was all there, leading to this. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled but steady. "You know what the funny thing is?" she said softly. "You were right that night. He did regret losing me, but I think I would have regretted never finding you." Liam's eyes softened as he stepped closer, holding out the ring. "So what do you say, Miss Brooks? Will you let me be your next masterpiece?" For a heartbeat, the world went silent. Then Emma smiled through her tears and nodded. Yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, his hands shaking slightly. The room around them felt lighter, as if every wall, every frame, every piece of her art exhaled with relief. Somewhere outside, the city lights blinked like quiet applause. A few months later, the gallery was renamed Table 7 Studio. The front display held the sketch that started it all, the girl alone at the table, and the man at the next one saying, "He will regret losing you." Beneath it, a new plaque read, "Dedicated to every beautiful mistake that led us to love." Emma and Liam worked side by side, building a small foundation that sponsored young artists from low-income families. The cafe below became a place where art and kindness met, where people from every walk of life could belong. And sometimes, when the day grew quiet, Emma would catch Liam standing by that same painting, watching it with a smile. She would walk up behind him, take his hand, and whisper, "We really were the best mistake, were we not?" He would turn to her, eyes full of warmth. "The very best," he would say. And together, beneath the golden light that had once started it all, they finally found what they had both been missing, not just love, but the kind of peace that comes when you stop running from what was meant to be.